Hello everyone. Last time we have completed two methods of the pest control such as cultural measures and the physical measures or cultural and physical control measures. Today we are going to explain third type of pest control measure or method, that is mechanical control measures. In this type, the use or operation of machinery or the equipments or the devices and the application of manual operations are included. So this includes the use of mechanical devices or the equipments or the machineries together with the manual operations for the purpose of controlling the pest. These methods are time consuming and costly but gives the immediate results. Such methods consist of destruction or killing of the insects by mechanical means or the use of mechanical machineries or the equipments like hand destruction or hand killing, then tree bending, fly nets, use of fly nets, use of traps, or burning and use of the barriers, etc. The following are some measures practiced under the category of the mechanical control measures. So first one, that is hand picking. So hand picking is simply the hand picking of the larger stages of the insect pest. So usually large sized insects like egg masses, caterpillars or their larvae, beetles, bugs can be hand-picked and killed in a kerosene or in a suitable insecticidal solution. This is the most practical method employed in areas where labor is available in a cheaper rate. So this method helps in suppressing the pest population in the initial stage of the pest occurrence. Nowadays, the insects are aggregated or collected together in a large number at a particular spot by keeping the insect attractants or synthetic hormones or species specific sounds or mating sounds or attractants, that is sex attractants, and thereafter the pest can be destroyed by means of hand picking. For example, lepidopteran larvae, grasshoppers, beetles, plant bugs, etc. So with the use of manual operation, that is simply hand picking or the collection of the large sized insects or the stages of the insects in the form of egg masses, caterpillars or the adult beetles and bugs can simply hand picked or collected from the field and are then killed in a kerosene or in a suitable insecticide. This is the most practical method employed or used in the areas where the labor is available in a cheaper rate. Then this method is useful in suppressing or reducing the pest population in the initial stage. Nowadays, the insects are aggregated or collected together by means of or with the use of uh, different type of chemicals such as insect attractants or synthetic hormones or the use of specific species specific sound or mating sound or the sex attractants. So these are the different type of chemicals which can be used uh, for the attraction or the aggregation of the different species of organisms at one spot, and then from where which are then collected and and the destroyed by using certain insecticidal solution or the kerosene. So, by this way, the lepidopteran larvae, grasshoppers, beetles, and plant bugs can be killed or destroyed by this method. So, in this method, we can collect the large sized insect stages, that is adults, larvae, or the egg masses from the infested field, and after that this can be destroyed or killed in a kerosene or the insecticide. Or for this purpose, we can use the different type of chemicals, synthetic or natural hormones, or the mimics or the duplicate synthetic hormones like sex hormones or pheromones, or even sex attractants, or even the use of specific sound, that is mating sound or the specific species specific sound, can also be used so as to collect or so as to aggregate the insect species at a particular spot, and from where then this can be killed by using the suitable method. This is about the hand picking. Then second, hand netting. So the insect pest can be collected by the use of simple hand nets, and these nets are commonly used to collect the pest like sugarcane hopper, such as pyrilla, grasshoppers, beetles, jacids. So these are the different type of insects which are attacking onto the sugarcane crop, and for the destruction or the killing of these pests, one can use the hand nets. Hand nets, which are simple nets and having different mesh size, and can be used for the catching of the different type of insect pest from the sugarcane crop. Then the use of mechanical devices. There are certain devices or the equipments, small mechanical devices or the equipments called as hopper dozers. So this hopper dozer can be used for the uh, trapping or collection of the pyrilla. Then hopper catchers. So this particular device, with the help of particular device hopper catcher, we can catch the different type of insects. Aphidozers, so for the collection or catching of the aphids, we can use aphidozers. So these are the different type of devices which can be used specifically for the catching or collection of the different type of pest like pyrilla or the aphids, and are called as hopper dozers, hopper catchers, then aphidozers, then moth traps. There are certain traps which can be used for the catching of the moths. Maggot traps, light traps also been used successfully for catching and killing of the variety of insect pest. For example, mechanical drags to crush the insects on the ground have been used against the larvae of Spodoptera. So there are different type of mechanical devices which can be either used as a traps or the nets or the draggers, and these are used specifically to the particular group of insects for controlling or catching of the particular group of the insects. Then another mode of mechanical measure, that is shaking of trees, simply a shaking of the trees and the destruction of dislodged insects. So for this purpose, we can take a tub, a large sized tub with a kerosene or kerosenized water that could be kept under the infested plant or the tree, and whose branches could be simply shaken or beaten with a stick to make the paste drop into the tub. So this is quite a simple technique, that is the use of tub which is containing kerosenized water or insecticidal water, and that can be kept under the infested tree, and after which the branches of the tree or the entire tree can be shaken or beaten with the use of stick, and after which ultimately there is a dislodging or the separation of the insect paste thereon can fall or drop into the tub. Apart from this, catching of the insects by sweeping, simply we can sweep out the insects. Apart from this, catching of the insects by sweeping, swatting of insects to death have been used. Then the insect like the melanoid beetles are having habit of flying in swarms. So this is one example, that is the melanoid beetles which can fly or which fly in the group or in a swarm, and this happens usually after the first monsoon shower to inhabit the trees. Then that is adult. So adult melanoid beetles, the melanoid beetles which are having habit of flying in a swarm or in a group during the initial stage of monsoon. So in India, these melanoid beetles they cause heavy damage to the foliage of the large number of trees, and the larvae cause damage to the subaerial parts of the plants, including groundnut or sugarcane like crops. So, for the purpose of collection of or destruction and killing or control of the melanoid beetles, which are having the habit of moving or flying in a group or in the form of swarm, after the first monsoon shower, to invade the trees or to attack or infest the trees, uh, that is Lacnosterna consanguinea adults. So these are the genus and species of the melanoid beetles. So these adults which cause the heavy damage to the foliage, that is leaves of the large number of trees, and their larvae can cause damage to the subaerial parts of the plants, including groundnut, sugarcane, etc. So, the flock on trees, the flock or whatever the number of these adult beetles, melanoid beetles, which are occurring on the trees in the form of a flock or a group, in the evening are sacked from infested trees and dislodged or separated from trees, which are then separated from trees, which are collected below by spreading a cloth, and the trees can be destroyed mechanically or by dumping them in a fire. So, with the help of simple technique, that is shaking technique. So, the when the plants which are infested with a group of insects or the adult insect pest like melanoid beetles in the form of a flock or in the group on the trees. So in evening time, one can shake the entire tree, infested tree, and dislodged insects from the tree are collected on the ground by spreading the cloth below the trees, and then can be destroyed mechanically or by dumping them in a fire. Means we can bury them or we can burn them. We can bury these insects or we can burn them, or even we can use the kerosinized water or insecticidal water as per the requirement. We can use any of the mode for the destruction or the killing of these pests after their collection. Then banding, another method called as banding. So the bands in the form of sticky bands or the barrier bands which can be used around the stem or the trunk of the trees so as to avoid the climbing up of the insect pest from the ground to the uh, upper side or on the trees. So banding, stem banding devices could be used to prevent insect pests from migrating or moving to the tree tops, which destroy or feed onto the inflorescence or the flowers and the fruits. And this is particularly effective against the caterpillars, ants, then crawlers of the mango mealybug, which crawl up the trunk from the soil to the shoot. So the banding material like grease or ostico means a banding material smeared around the trunk arrests the crawling of the insects, stops the crawling of the insects below the banded part where they die due to starvation or by getting entangled with a sticky banding material. So the use of stem bandings will help to prevent the entry or climbing up or movement or the migration of the insect pest or whatever the pest may be, caterpillars, ants, or the adult insects which are crawling up uh, on the trees or the top side of the trees, which can be prevented or avoided because of use of stem bendings. So these may be smooth, having stem bendings may have the iron sheet with a smooth surface, or tar-like or a grease-like sticky material which is smeared along the surface of the bands. So such bandings can form a barrier, on the entire surface of the uh, trunk or the shoot of the trees. So ultimately preventing the movement or the migration of the pest, insect pest, to the top side of the trees and ultimately preventing the damage caused. So the banding material like grease or astico that is a banding material which is smeared around the trunk, stops the crawling of the insects below the banded part where they die off due to the starvation. So the use of sticky bands. So simply this can be covered the entire surface of the shoot near the ground. So ultimately the insects which are moving from the ground to the tree tops prevented. So this is particularly effective against the caterpillars, ants, and the crawlers of the mango mealy bug, which are usually crawling up the trunk from the soil to the shoot. So the bonding material like grease or a tar or the iron sheets or the sticky bands can be used. So sticky with the use of these sticky bands, this will form a barrier. So ultimately preventing the movement or the migration of the insect pest from ground to the top side of the tree, and this will also lead to the starvation. So due to their prevention to crawl up, they get exposed to the starvation, and sometimes these insect pests can stick to the sticky bands on the surface of the bands around the tree trunks. So the banding materials like grease or tar or astico banding material smeared around the trunk will stop the crawling insects below the banded part where they die due to starvation or by getting entangled or attached with the sticky banding material. Then next material used as a mechanical control measure, that is use of wire gauze screen. Wire gauze screen with a definite mesh size. So this is a regular method used by the Indian farmers in which the or the fruits stems or the fruits are surrounded by a wire gauze screen to prevent the attacks, particularly for stem and the fruit borer from rats and rabbits. That is, citrus fruits, grapes, berries, mango, apple are wrapped by waxed paper bags in order to protect them from fruit sucking moths. So these are the even we might have seen different type of wire gauze screens. So these wire gauze screens are the bags which are simply wrapped around the stems or the shoots or even around the fruits like the bunch of grapes, berries, mangoes. So certain type of fruits can be covered on all sides by using the waxed paper bags in order to protect them from fruit sucking moths. So use of wire gauze screen. So this is a regular method can be used by Indian farmers in which the stems or the fruits are surrounded by a wire gauze screen to prevent attacks. Particularly for stem and fruit, borers, particularly for stem and fruit borers from the rats and rabbits. That is, citrus fruits, grapes, berries, mango, apple are wrapped by using the waxed paper bags so as to protect them from the fruit sucking moths. Then another method, that is trench digging. Trench digging. So this is simply a trench that is dig out around the trees or around the field or around the tree, we can use the trenches. So some insects like nymphs of grasshopper and locust, nymphs, that is young stages of the grasshopper and the locust, which are having the habit of moving in bands. So they move in the form of bands. So this habit can be exploited or used for their destruction or the control, and simply by digging the trenches, so as to dig out the trenches and letting or allowing their allow the marching insects fall into the trenches, fall into the trenches and can be buried or killed by using suitable insecticide. So, with the use of trench digging. So, trench digging is again a technique that can be exploited or used for the control of nymph or young stages of the grasshoppers and the locust. So these grasshoppers and the locust, adult or nymph stages, they are having habit of moving in bands. So at a time they move from one place to other place in the form of jump. They are showing jumping or leaping. They are moving in the bands, and this moving is in the form of jumping, a long jump. So the locust and grasshoppers, they move from one place to other place in the form of bands or in the form of leaps or jumping. So this habit can be exploited, or this habit can be used for their control purpose. And simply the digging trenches, so simply a trench that is dig out, and these locust or the grasshoppers which are marching from one place to other place, which can fall into the trenches, we can bury them in the trenches, or can be killed by using suitable insecticides. So when the locust or the grasshoppers or adult or nymph, when falling into the trenches, when they move through a bands from one place to other place in the form of jumping, and they get fall into the trenches. So after falling these locust or grasshoppers in the trenches, which are there, can be buried or can be killed by using the suitable insecticide. So this is a simple technique, that is trench digging. Then next method, mechanical measure, that is insect traps. So there are different type of insect traps. There are different type of insect traps basically or primarily used for the destruction of the insect pest and the determination of their population density. So, for the determination of the population density of the variety of insect pest, or for the catching or controlling the different type of insect pest, one can use different type of insect traps. However, they have been employed as a control measure. So, insect traps can primarily be used for the detection of the insect pest and the determination of their population densities, but the same insect traps can also be used or employed as a control method. So, insect traps are simple devices having various size, shape, simple or complex, and constructed on different principles such as light traps, suction traps, grid traps, glass traps, etc. So there are different type of traps which can be evolved or used or established for the purpose of collection and destruction, catching and destruction of the different type of insect pest. So the traps are the simple devices, and these are having various size, shape, simple or complex, and constructed on different principles by using different sources or different techniques, that is the light traps, suction traps, grid traps, glass traps, etc. So this is the image showing the first figure, that is 2.21, shows the banding device, or means the image shows how the uh, bands, sticky bands or the barriers are used along the shoot or the stem of the trees. So in first figure we can see there is a tree trunk, and which is covered with a tarred or greased or paper bands. So these are the either paper bands which are smeared or immersed with the use of sticky material like a tar or grease, and that can be covered around the tree trunks near the ground. In other figure, there are also the tree trunk, and it is again covered with a sticky surface, and where the barrier rings can also be used. So these are the barrier rings, so which will also prevent the climbing up of the insects or the different type of larvae or the pest from the ground to the top side of the trees. So this forms a sort of barriers. Sticky bands or the barrier rings can be used for the control of different type of insect pest, so as to avoid or the movement or the migration of the different type of insect pest from the ground to the top of the trees. Then in another figure, that is 2.22, there are insect light traps. So the light traps, in first figure we can see there is a one hook to which the trap is suspended. The trap is suspended to some sort of support, and having a pan below with a or containing some insecticidal water or kerosinized water, and in between which there is a lantern, that is a source of light, and provided with the suspensory cord. And this type of trap can be used in the field infested with a different type of insects. So during night time, certain species of the insects can be attracted towards these light traps. Then in another diagram, the source of light is a bulb, electric bulb, and which is also having a pan below provided with kerosinized water or the insecticidal water. So ultimately, the insects aggregated into or towards the light traps, they fall into the kerosinized water or insecticidal water and get killed. So different type of light traps or the banding techniques can be used as a mechanical measure for the control of the variety of insect pest uh, in the form of bandings or the different type of light traps. So this is the image showing these two type of mechanical measures, that is banding and the light traps. Then we are dealing with the use of different type of insect traps. So the first type of insect trap is a light trap. Light traps. So many nocturnal insects which are active during the nights, called as nocturnal insects. So light traps are usually used during the night time, and these nocturnal insects can be attracted towards the source of light of various colors or the various or variable wavelength. So the simplest light traps consisting of source of light may be an oil lamp placed on a brick or a stone in a pan containing kerosene water or suspended over the pan. So this is the lighter trap as we have seen the diagram previously. So the lighter traps can be prepared by using the source of light as a oil lamp or the electric bulbs with different colors also. So an oil lamp which is placed on a brick or a stone in a pan containing kerosene water and which is suspended uh, over the pan in the field. Insects are attracted Insects are attracted towards these light sources, maybe oil lamp or the electric lamp, fall into the pan containing kerosene water or the insecticidal water, ultimately get killed. In more sophisticated types, an electric bulb of 100 watts or more is fixed at the top of the funnel-shaped trapezoid cone terminating in a bottle containing calcium cyanide. So insects are attracted towards these powerful electric bulbs or the light which is placed in the field will fall into the bottle and get killed. So different intensities of the light used in a light traps where we can use different intensity of light can be used in the light trap as per the requirement of the insect species. Since the different species of the insects get attracted towards the different intensities of the light or different colors of the light or different wavelength of the light, and with the consideration of these intensities of the light or the insect species which are attracted towards the specific light intensity. So on that basis, different type of light traps can be prepared. So it has been found that a Petromax light of 200 candle power attracting 20 times more moths of the Amstra albistriza than an ordinary kerosene lamp, and thus one Petromax lamp is sufficient to serve 4 to 6 hectare area of the crop against only 1 hectare with a ordinary lamp. So means 4 to 6 hectare area of the crop can be covered by a single light trap which is prepared by using a Petromax light having a power of 200 candles and which can attract the 20 times more number of moths from the large area of about 4 to 6 hectares. And in case of lamp, in case of kerosene lamp, only 1 hectare area can be covered. So the insects from the 1 hectare area can be attracted. The insects from only 1 hectare area can be attracted towards the lighter trap which is prepared by using the kerosene lamp, and a single light trap which is prepared by using a Petromax light having power of 200 candle can attract 20 times more number of moths from the 4 to 6 hectare area. So this is the advantage. So we can use the different light intensities or different colors or different power as per the requirement of the insect pest which is supposed to be infesting the crop field. So with the consideration of the type of insect pest, we can use or we can prepare the different light intensities, different wavelength or different colors so as to attract the insect pest from the field so as to aggregate them, collect them and to kill them by using the different type of light traps. So it has been found that most of the groundnut leaf miner, most of the groundnut leaf miner, that is Stomopteryx subsivilla, can be controlled by using a trap called Dietz Junior Hurricane Lamp for 0.75 hectare crop area. So this is just example, that is the use of a light trap for controlling the groundnut leaf miners. Light trapping for control of serious pests of the paddy like Nephotetics species or Orsiolia origi, and for gram pod borer Heliothes armigera has been suggested. So light traps can also be used for the control of various serious pests of the paddy or the rice crop can be used. So there are different type of light traps and which can be used successfully for the aggregation or collecting and destruction or killing of the different type of insect pest during nights. Then color traps, second type of traps called as color traps. So many insects shows distinct preference for the visible radiation of certain wavelength or certain colors. So there are different type of insects which are uh, getting attracted towards the different visible radiations or different colors or the wavelengths, as most aphids and various flies show the marked response to the yellow color. So there are certain type of insect pest called as aphids or certain flies, aphids and certain flies, which shows a marked response to the yellow color, and thus the visibility of the color is mostly by the reflection from the colored objects, and these are mostly useful for the insects which are most active during the daytime. So even these color traps with a yellow color or the yellow light colored traps can be used during the daytime so as to attract or so as to collect certain insect pests like aphids and flies. So aphids and flies type of insect pest can be attracted towards the yellow color, simply a yellow color. So yellow color light traps can be used for the collection and destruction of the aphids and flies. Then yellow sticky traps and yellow pan water will catch large number of aphids and some flies even during the daytime. So we can use, so this is you might have seen the yellow colored papers which are smeared with some sticky material like oil. So we can simply use the yellow color paper which is immersed into the oil and can be hung into a crop field. So during daytime what happens, the certain flies and the aphids get attracted towards these yellow colored traps. So this is simple paper. This is simple yellow colored paper which can be hung into the crop field. So this will attract the insect pest like aphids and flies towards these yellow colored papers which are immersed or smeared with oil. So that can serve as a color trap. That is a sticky paper. This is simply a sticky paper with a yellow color. So ultimately the light is reflected from the yellow paper. So this can also serve or satisfy the purpose of the color traps. So yellow sticky traps and yellow pan water. yellow pan water. So the pan containing yellow colored water and the yellow sticky traps. So these two components or two type of colored traps with a yellow sticky trap, simple yellow colored paper immersed with oil can serve as a yellow sticky trap, and one can also use the yellow pan water. So whenever the insect pest like aphids or flies comes in contact with these yellow sticky traps or yellow pan water, get attracted and get either stick or get killed in the yellow colored pan water, which may contain some insecticide or a kerosene. So ultimately these color traps, either yellow sticky traps or the yellow pan water, can help to catch the large number of aphids and some flies even during the daytime. Then suction traps. These are mechanized type trap. These are the mechanized type trap and used for trapping the insects like gnats, house flies, stable flies, hornworm moth, which can be collected about 85 million within a single night. So these suction traps can be kept in the field having the electric motor or the fans so as to catch the different type of insects like stable flies, house flies, gnats, hornworm moths. So different type of insect pest which can be catched by the suction traps during the night, and the number of the insect pest, that is about 85 million. 85 million means 850 lakh. 10 lakh is equivalent to 1 million. So 1 million is equivalent to 10 lakh. So 85 million means 85 into 10, 85 into 10 number of lakh means 850 lakh 850 lakh number of insect pest of the house flies, table flies, hornworm moth or the gnats. Such type of insect pest can be catched by the suction trap by a single suction trap in a night. So 85 million number of insect pest can be catched by a single suction trap in a night. Then the pheromone traps. So pheromones, these are the ectohormones or the chemical scents released by the exocrine glands of certain insect pests. So insects which are having different type of pheromones. So there are different type of pheromones, maybe aggregation pheromones, trail pheromones, or the sex attractants. So these are the different type of biochemicals secreted or the produced by exocrine glands of the insects. So this is actual their natural chemicals or the biochemicals. These are the natural biochemicals produced by the variety of insects to satisfy various purposes, that is in the form of chemical scents or the ectohormones, which are the secretion of the exocrine glands and which are secreted or produced by the insect species themselves to satisfy the particular activity in their life. So pheromones. So these pheromones are the chemical scents or the ectohormones produced or secreted by the exocrine glands of the variety of insects. So the term pheromone designate or defines the chemical substance produced by an organism exogenously to influence the behavior, to influence or to affect the behavior or the physiology of other members of the same species. So these are the species specific. Pheromones are the biochemicals or the chemical substances produced by the organisms and which are having effect to change the behavior or to change the certain physiological reaction of the members of the same species. So there are different type of pheromones such as sex pheromones which are usually used for the pest control. Sex pheromones are used for the control of pest. So the suppression of the insect pest may be directed, or control of insect pest may be directed. The control or suppression of the insect population or control of insect population can be directed by two ways with the use of the sex pheromones. So first, that is a lurant, that is attractant, sex attractants, luring the insects in a large number in some traps. So with the use of the pheromone traps, we can keep or we can put the particular sex pheromone or a chemical substance, might be a mimic or the analog or a synthetic or the artificial chemical having the characteristics or the properties similar to the natural sex pheromone of the particular species. So each and every species of the insects, they are producing the sex pheromones of their own, which are having ability to sensitize or to get attracted, to get attract or to collect the males or the females of the same species, so as to satisfy the reproductive activities, so as to satisfy the breeding activities. So sex pheromones are used for the pest control, and the suppression of the insect pest or the reduction in a number, decrease in a number of pest population can be directed by two ways. One, that is luring or attracting the insects of same species in a large number in some traps, and other, that is disruption of the intersexual communication system to prevent the normal mating behavior in a mass trapping of red banded leaf roller, in a red banded leaf. This is the example that is a red banded leaf roller in a apple orchard or in a apple gardens, and the cotton ball weevil or pink ball worm using appropriate pheromones on the experimental basis. So pheromone traps, what is pheromone trap actually? It is a small metallic cylindrical tube. It is a small metallic cylindrical tube containing a particular sex hormone or a substance or a chemical which is kept or put into the pheromone trap, which is a small metallic cylindrical tube containing the respective sex hormone or the pheromone, and which will attract the male insects, of the particular species. For example, the gyptol, for example, a chemical substance or a sex hormone, namely gyptol, can be kept in a pheromone trap or a small device which is prepared by using small metallic cylindrical tube in which the gyptol like sex pheromone is kept, and that will be kept in the field. So ultimately the gypsy moth, males of the gypsy moth can be attracted towards the pheromone trap containing gyptol, and this will attract the male gypsy moth during night. So the use of pheromone trap can be done so as to attract the male organisms of the particular species, so as to interrupt or so as to inhibit or so as to stop the mating behavior on a large scale, as in case of red-banded leaf roller, or even in case of apple orchids or the gardens, or cotton ball weevil or pink ball worm, by using the appropriate pheromone traps, or the pheromone traps usually containing the certain chemical substance or the chemical which are having properties similar to the actual pheromones or the natural pheromones of the different species. So for this purpose, we'll have to use the different type of chemicals, maybe sex hormones or the pheromones which are having ability of attracting the males or the members of the same species. So the pheromone traps are can be used for the control of pest. So with the help of particular or a specific chemical substance or the pheromone or the sex hormone in the form of pheromone traps, and which are simply kept in the field. So ultimately the particular species of the pest or members of the particular species of the pest or male members of the particular pest get attracted towards the pheromone trap can contain the sex attractants. So ultimately this will attract either male members of the particular species like male gypsy moth, where we can use a gyptol, that is the sex hormone, which will attract only the male members of the gypsy moth towards the pheromone trap during the night, from where we can collect them and kill them. So, large number of male members or the male gypsy moths can be collected in a pheromone trap containing gyptol, from where we can collect them and kill them. So ultimately we can inhibit the mating behavior, we can inhibit or we can stop the breeding activities of the gypsy moth. So similarly we can use the different type of pheromones or the sex hormones or sex attractants so as to collect them in a particular place, from where we can catch them and kill them by using the suitable chemical control measure. So ultimately this will help in changing the behavior of the pest species. So use of the pheromone traps can also be done for the control of particular species of the insects, and for that we'll have to use a specific chemical substance either in the form of pheromone, maybe sex pheromone or the aggregation pheromone or the trail pheromone or the sex hormones. So these are the variety of chemicals which can be used for the preparation of the pheromone traps or the hormone traps, and with the use of these pheromone traps or the sex hormone traps we can collect the members of the particular species of the pest, either males or the members of different members of the same species in a large scale or on a mass scale in a particular place, from where we can collect them and kill them by using the suitable method. So this is about the pheromone traps. Then sound traps. So sound traps, these are again devices. Sound traps are again the devices are used to scare the insect away, to move the insect away from the particular crop or field. So sound traps can be used as a uh, sound traps, that is the devices. Sound traps are the devices with a specific sound which can produce a specific sound, and that will be used to scare or to pass away the insect pest from the sound traps. For example, the cotton ball worms which are having natural enemy, that is bats. So the cotton boll worm which are predated or consumed by their natural enemy, that is bats. So bats which are feeding the bats which are feeding on the cotton boll worms, so the bats are natural enemies of the natural bats are the natural enemies of the cotton boll worm. So the bats produce the ultrasonic waves. The bats which are producing the ultrasonic waves, which are perceived, the waves of which ultrasonic waves produced by the bats are perceived by the cotton boll worm. So, with the use of the ultrasonic waves or the sound traps of the same frequency, ultrasonic waves which are produced by the bats, so which can be perceived by the cotton boll worm. So we can use the ultrasonic waves or a device. We can produce a artificial device which can produce the ultrasonic waves or the sound waves similar to the ultrasonic waves produced by the bats. So these ultrasonic waves are recorded and played in the fields, in the cotton field, so as to scare away, so as to move away the insect pest like a cotton boll worm. So the sound traps can serve as a scarecrow. Sound traps can act as a scarecrow which will produce a sound or the ultrasonic waves having frequency similar to the ultrasonic waves produced by the bats. So ultimately, the cotton boll worms can move away from the cotton field. So ultimately, for the control of the cotton boll worm, we can use sound traps which will produce the frequency of the ultrasonic waves similar to the ultrasonic waves or the frequency of the sound produced by the bats. So sound traps can also be used for the control of the cotton boll worm with the help of ultrasonic waves produced by a device or a sound trap can serve as a scarecrow, and that will help to move away or to leave the cotton field uh, for the cotton boll worms, for the control of cotton boll worm. Then last one more method, mechanical measure can be used, that is flooding. So a large number of insects which breed and dwell in the soil. So there are large number of insect pests which are living or breeding in the soil, which may be destroyed by flooding the fields with water. So this is quite simple technique, that is a flooding of a crop field, flooding of the crop field containing the insect pest which are having a habit of breeding or dwelling in the soil. So large number of the insects which are undergoing their breeding activity or living in the soil, breeding activity or living in the soil, which may be destroyed simply by flooding the fields with water. The insect stages or the insect pest stages such as egg masses, nymph, larvae and the adult insects which are living in the soil, when exposed to waterlogging or the flooding, they will die due to the suffocation action and can float. After their death, that can float onto the water. So this is a simple and cheap method but employed before the plantation and the sowing. So flooding can also be used. Flooding technique can also be used for the destruction or the killing of the insect pests which are living in the soil or breeding in the soil. So simply by flooding the fields, with the water different stages of the insect pest, that is egg masses, nymph or larvae or the adult insects can get uh, died due to the suffocation action simply by flooding the field infested with these type of pest. So this is what about the mechanical control measure. So today we'll stop here, and the next time we will continue with fourth type of control measure, that is chemical control measure.